Hey there, Carolise 90. So, taking a look at your log, I guess your issue is saying you're getting jitters on your new quad. Can anybody check it and see what they think? Looking at your log, which is this one, whenever I see jitters, the first thing I go, whenever I see any log, the first spot I go is to check the amount of noise, bass noise, and noise is vibrations and resonance in the frame that the quad has. So looking at yours, you don't have a debug mode turned on, which would be preferable. So that's really going to ultimately be the next step, is to go into Betaflight. Hold on a second. All right, so I should show you this. You go, you connect to Betaflight, go to the CLI command, type set debug underscore mode equals notch, and then type save and hit enter. And what that will do is that will record the unfiltered noise that your gyro is seeing. This is a little graph I generated a couple weeks or a week or so ago that captures what the different debug modes are and where they are in the filtering process. So you can see the debug mode notch is unfiltered but scaled gyro noise. So that's the one we want to look at. So you would save that and then record a new black box log. When you look at that new log, if you go into the header file for it and go down to here, you would see that it would say debug mode equals notch, and then you can make a new graph. You do graph setup, you would make a new custom graph, and then with that debug mode equals notch turned on, you would be able to come into here. Oh, I'm not gonna see it on yours. Let me look on mine. You'd be able to come into here after debug mode equals notch is turned on, and you would hit add, you'd hit custom graph, add, and then you would have, yours would say debug mode equals notch, and then you'd pick that, and that would add the three axes, the pitch, yaw, and pitch, roll, and yaw. And then you can do a spectrograph on those. So let's look back at this for a second. So on yours, if I go into the only thing I can run a spectrograph on is the gyro. So let's just do the yaw axis for now. And when you first run this, the graph scaling is down around here, and it's not honestly that bad. So I would still, if this was my quad, this is what I'm telling you is what I would do. I would run that debug mode equals notch, and I would look at that data. This, I can see some noise here right around the gyro low pass filter cutoff, and that is getting, from here out is where the filtering is taking place. And all this filtering is this high because it's attacking all the motor noise. However, if there's a high enough motor noise and some of this is getting through, it's causing some resonance frequency down here. This is the motion of the quad. So some of that, and then this has a resonance, and then so wherever the noise is, then half of that. So your noise is, I'm gonna guess, around 250 to 300. This is the first resonance, and then there's going to be a second resonance around, right down here around 10 or so. So that could be, mistaking, your gyro could be mistaking that for motion every now and then. I'm not, it's a lot of times everybody wants the silver bullet, like this is it, you do this one thing, you're good to go. This is a little Sherlock Holmes kind of a task you need to do here. So that's what I would do. I would first look at that noise, see where it's at, and see how much there is of it. Looking at your just your settings in here, there's some things we can do to attack that noise. It looks like you have the low pass filters on, the static notches, and the dynamic notch. So you have a decent amount of filtering enabled, which you can see that here, or when I click on a spectrograph, so you can see here's the two static notches, here's the low pass filter. So it looks like basically the defaults. There is a couple things you can do to attack that noise more aggressively, you can move the low pass filters down. You always want to keep the dynamic notch enabled. And if the static notches are not centered over that noise spike, you would center those. So if this is your center of your static notch, you would put that. So say the peak motor noise is at 250, you would move this gyro notch center. For this is static notch 2, this is static notch 1. You would move this to 250, and then you would either keep this at 100, so then it whatever the distance is from here. So this is 100 hertz differential between here, so it's going to run 100 hertz differential on the other side. So if you move this up to 250, then that would be 150 hertz, so it would go out 150 hertz on the upper side of that notch. They can overlap, and you can move this one up or just turn it off. If you don't see noise up here, you could turn off the static notch. Each filter adds latency. So I would try that, see where the noise is, move this static notch over it. If not, feel free to obviously upload your log. I'd love to take a look at it as well. The other thing I would try after getting the noise tuned and looking at that to see if we can get this spike decreased. So going to one of my logs here, and I'm just going to run the gyro filter just to give you a sense. So this is cranked all the way up, just like yours. This is cranked all the way up just for comparison. Now the flight times are not the same and the moves aren't the same, so you can't compare perfectly apples to apples. You see how you have a spike here and you have some lower noise down here? If you just keep an eye on that when I switch, I still have some lower noise here, but I don't have that spike. And we're here, let's zoom in. I don't have the same zoom level on both, so I have mine go into 250. See if I can get that there. So now we're looking at it at the same scale. The only really difference is that spike. If you can tell that, and you have some higher noise down at the lower frequencies here, where mine just kind of brings up. And the only reason I'm showing you mine is because I don't have an issue. So this is what you're trying to get to, a nice base noise level, and then obviously down here it's going to spike up. If that doesn't work, the next thing I might try honestly is just, instead of running 8K 8K, run 4K 4K, because then you're not going to pick up as much noise. See if that helps. Beyond that, the other things you can do is move these low pass filters down. I wouldn't mess with the D term for now, but just the gyro. Don't let the D term one throw you off. Don't worry about that for now, because that's after the D term gets spit out. But there's a whole process to tuning your noise. So anyways, you can move these down, but as these move down, the latency of that low pass filter increases dramatically. So here's a little graph on the low pass filter in Betaflight. As you can see, up around 100 hertz or 90, that's where it's currently set. It's introducing about 1.39 milliseconds of latency. So whatever the motion of the copter is, it's offsetting it back 1.39 or 1.56 milliseconds. But as you bring this filter down, so you'd say, well, why don't we set that at 20? So, because really any noise from probably around here, so like 25, 30, from here up, it gets questionable. There may, you could say 50, 60. Boris, the original developer of Betaflight, and his some recommendations is you really shouldn't be going below 60 or 70. There's useful noise, motion noise down here. It's basically prop wash, things of that nature. So if you start getting down below here, your copter's not going to handle that stuff very well. But nevertheless, you could, bring this down to around 60 hertz. But looking at that graph, you're going to introduce, you're going to introduce half a microsecond of latency. So which degrades flight performance. But if you're having an issue, then these are all personal decisions, and you have to fly it and see what you like. If it gets rid of your yaw twitch, there you go. My recommendation first would be to decrease the sampling rate from 8K, 4K to 4K to 8K to 8K. I can't tell the difference. I think a lot of people agree. Other people are going to disagree and say, oh my gosh, I can totally tell the difference. So it depends how aggressively you fly and all kinds of that stuff. So that would be my recommendation. First, take a look at the noise with the notch, the debug mode equals notch. Then secondarily, get your filters set the best you can. Reduce the amount of filtering as much as you can, but obviously it's a trade-off there. And then third, if you're still having issues, then decrease that sampling rate to 4K, 4K. I have tons more recommendations as you go if you're still experiencing this issue. We can go down this path, but in the interest of not making this too long and too cumbersome, trying to go from A to Z when this thing could take a different direction at any given time, I'll end there. Hopefully find this somewhat helpful and get you back in the air without the twitch. Thanks again. Hope this helps. See ya.